Good afternoon, friends. You are most welcome to Think IS channel. Today we are discussing the anthropology. We are discussing the question and answers in anthropology. Our question is discuss the origin and development of anthropology or discuss history of anthropology. Introduction. Even though anthropology as a discipline of study did not appear until 16th century, many philosophers like Herodotus, Aristotle, etc were conducting studies of anthropological nature as early as 4th century BC. However, independent work, research, or any kind of study was never carried out before 9th century AD. Informal beginning of study of anthropology. Anthropology had its beginning in 5th century BC, first time talking about or conducting studies of anthropological nature. It was the Greek philosopher called Herodotus. Other early Greek philosophers who conducted related research were Aristotle 400 BC and Strabo in 100 BC. In this era, Roman philosophers like Lucretius made significant contribution to this field, while in AD era, Anno Domini era, Roman philosophers like Tacitus, Aquinas were significant contributors. Unsystematic beginning of study of anthropology. Historians often claim that anthropology as a discipline originated during and due to Renaissance and systematic development of anthropology is caused by colonialism. In 16th and 17th century, some scholars of sociology talked about anthropology in the wake of French Revolution, example Herbert Spencer. The term anthropology was coined in 16th century by German university professor. In those times, it was not studied as a different discipline but was understood to be systematic examination and observation of evolution of man as a physical and moral being. Some of the noted writers and researchers who tried to differentiate anthropology as a different discipline were Michael de Montaigne, Jean Bodin, Blaise Pascal, etc. Some of the noted early publications in the field of anthropology were History Naturally of French naturalist Georges and Buffon, which is an encyclopedia in which 2 out of 44 volumes have been dedicated to anthropology. Most revolutionizing works in anthropology were written by Charles Darwin in the form of Voyage of the Beagle 1845 AD and Origin of Species 1859 AD. Origin of Species 1859 AD. Systematic beginning of study of anthropology as a separate discipline. In 19th century, anthropology was systematically synthesized and started as a separate branch or discipline by combining various branches of anthropology, such as physical anthropology and sociocultural anthropology, by some scholars calling themselves anthropologists. However, the different branches of anthropology had begun to exist at different times right from 16th and 17th century AD. Physical anthropology, the oldest of the branches, is physical anthropology. German anthropologist John F. Blumenbach played instrumental role in development of physical anthropology. Sociocultural anthropology, during 17th and 18th century, same sociologists and other scholars started talking about the social anthropology. For example, Herbert Spencer and Auguste Comte. Thus, a branch of sociocultural anthropology was started. Origin and development of anthropology, Darwinism and colonialism. First is role of Darwinism. R. Merritt, a British anthropologist, remarked that anthropology is a child of Darwinism, but this judgment is refuted on following grounds. A part is Darwin was himself inspired by the concept of evolution which was in existence in some social sciences. B part, Darwin was also inspired by economist Malthus theory, implying that seat of anthropology was already there at the time of Darwin. Hence, anthropology was influenced by Darwinism, but it cannot be called as child of Darwinism. Second is role of colonialism. Industrial revolution, industrial revolution in Europe was going on at that time. Consequently, Europeans were in pressing need of new markets and raw materials, which made them to move out to other areas like America, Africa, and Asia. As a result of this, missionaries, travelers, administrators, etc., collected a lot of information about society, culture, and physical features of the natives for the purpose of establishing colonialism. This information flooded Britain and other European countries. Various scholars studied it for their theoretical interpretation. On the basic of these information or on the basis of this information, scholars in Britain and America come out with theories of evolution of society and culture in anthropology. Thereby systematic beginning of anthropology took place. Development of anthropology in 19th and 20th century. First academic position in anthropology was held by Edward Tyler at Oxford in 1884. Almost immediately after, Franz Boas became the first professor of anthropology in United States at Clark University, Massachusetts. First course in general anthropology was offered in 1885 at University of Vermont. Reasons for slow development and growth of anthropology. First is lack of vision on the part of the Europeans to recognize the similarities and homogeneity in physical and cultural aspect with the non-whites. Second is all remotely located societies which were not sharing the fundamental cultural values of the Europeans hardly deserve to be regarded as humans. When human diversity was accepted as natural, it opened doors for formal studies. Credit goes to European explorers, adventurers, travelers, missionaries, etc., who provided rudimentary and basic information about people inhabiting the remotest of areas. Early anthropologists like Tyler, Morgan, Spencer, Boyce, etc. were by and large armchair anthropologists who were basing their conclusions on the secondary data. Malinowski, the great British anthropologist of Polish origin, introduced the fieldwork in anthropology and transformed it into art and craft. During the first quarter of 20th century, when anthropology started blossoming, blossoming, blossoming as a full-fledged academic discipline century. Sense of detachment and tradition of relative objectivity became the distinctive attributes of anthropology. During same period, scholars from natural science background got attracted into its fold. For example, Haddon was a marine geologist, Rivers was a physicist, Seligman a pathologist, Elliot Smith an anatomist, Malinowski physicist, and back home in India. N.K. Bose was a physicist and geographer. They brought they brought with them scientific temper and objectivity which during the later stages helped anthropology to become a mature science. Later with the special branches such as political anthropology, legal anthropology, genetic anthropology, etc. are developing in India and world over. Thank you very much.